The exploration ship Odyssey was never meant to change history. It was a small vessel, built by humans to map stars and discover new planets. Its crew of 12 believed they were alone in the silent dark of space. For weeks they had traveled without seeing anything more than dead worlds, frozen moons, and burning suns. Their mission was simple: explore, record, and return home. But fate had a different plan. On a quiet night, as the ship drifted near the edge of a glowing nebula, something went wrong. The navigation computer, confused by strange radiation, calculated a jump to the wrong coordinates. The crew trusted the machine, unaware that one mistake would lead them into the heart of the unknown. With a flash of blue light, the Odyssey vanished into hyperspace. When it reappeared, the crew stared in silence. Before them stretched not emptiness, but a storm of light. Gigantic structures floated between stars, each one larger than cities on Earth. There were ships, thousands of them, moving in perfect formation. Some looked like flying fortresses, with weapons glowing across their surfaces. Others were so huge they could have carried entire continents. The humans froze. This was not empty space. They had jumped into the territory of something vast, something powerful. They had entered a galactic empire. At first, the crew whispered in disbelief. "Are those ships?" one asked. Another shook his head, unable to speak. Their captain, Elena Cross, gripped the controls with white knuckles. She had seen warships before, but nothing like this. Each alien vessel carried an aura of age, as if it had ruled the stars for centuries. And then, without warning, the Odyssey's alarms screamed. The Empire had noticed them. A swarm of ships broke formation and rushed toward the tiny human vessel. They moved like predators circling prey. Within minutes, the Odyssey was surrounded. The humans had no weapons strong enough to resist. They could only wait. A voice crackled over the ship's speakers, deep and cold. It was translated by the computer, but the message carried no warmth. "Unknown vessel. You have trespassed into the domain of the Galactic Empire. Identify your species. Prepare for inspection." The crew exchanged fearful looks. Captain Elena pressed the comm button. "This is Captain Cross of the human ship Odyssey. We come in peace. We made a mistake in our navigation. We request permission to leave." For a moment, silence. Then laughter, cruel and sharp, echoed through the speakers. "Humans. Primitive. Weak. You will not leave. Your world will kneel before the Empire. Your people will serve." The words struck the crew like a hammer. Earth had been discovered, and not by friends. Elena's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "We will not surrender. Earth does not bow to threats." Again, silence. Then the alien commander's voice returned, colder than before. "Then your world will burn." The communication cut off. The alien fleet shifted, preparing to escort the humans to their capital. The crew sat in stunned silence, their minds racing. They had only wanted to explore. Instead, they had invited the attention of a power far greater than anything they could imagine. Far beyond Earth, on the alien homeworld, word of the humans spread quickly. The Empire's rulers gathered in the council hall, a place where marble pillars touched the sky and shadows danced across gold and steel. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward a single projection, a recording of the human ship and its defiant captain. The High Consul of the Empire, a towering figure draped in silver armor, sneered. "So these are the humans. Small. Fragile. They dare defy us." His voice rolled like thunder. Some council members chuckled, already imagining Earth as another jewel in their crown. But a few whispered with unease. Something about the humans felt different. They did not plead. They did not beg. They resisted, even when hopelessly outnumbered. Back aboard the Odyssey, the crew argued in low voices. Some wanted to surrender and live. Others wanted to fight, even if it meant death. Captain Elena listened, her face pale but her eyes burning. "We cannot surrender," she said at last. "If we kneel now, Earth will never be free. They will chain us forever." Her words silenced the room. Fear still clung to them, but her courage lit a spark. They were explorers, not soldiers, but now they carried the weight of all humanity on their shoulders. Outside, the alien ships closed in, their weapons humming with energy. The humans had no chance. But in that moment, something changed. They were no longer lost travelers. They were the first line of defense for Earth. The galaxy had found humanity, and humanity had only one answer: defiance. As the Odyssey was dragged toward the alien capital, Captain Elena sent one last message to Earth. It was short, but its words would be remembered forever. "We are not alone. They demand our surrender. But I tell you this, we will never bow." Across Earth, leaders listened in silence. Ordinary people stopped in the streets as the transmission spread. Fear filled their hearts, but so did something else: pride. The galaxy might see them as weak, but they were human. And humans did not kneel. In the alien capital, the council prepared to decide Earth's fate. The High Consul raised his clawed hand, declaring that Earth must be conquered at once. But before the vote was cast, a ripple of unease spread through the chamber. The humans' defiance had echoed louder than expected. And in that echo was a shadow of danger, a whisper that the Empire had not heard in centuries: resistance. The mistake of one small ship had become the spark of something far greater. The galaxy would never be the same. The Odyssey moved like a captured bird, trapped inside a cage of alien warships. Engines roared around it as the fleet pulled the small human vessel toward the Empire's capital system. The humans stared out their windows in silence, each one feeling the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders. They were the first humans to meet another civilization, but instead of welcome, they found chains. Captain Elena Cross stood tall on the command deck, even though fear pressed against her chest. Her crew looked to her for strength, and she refused to let them see her doubt. Every time she remembered the alien commander's voice, she clenched her fists. "Your world will kneel." No. Not while she still breathed. The journey through alien space was terrifying. Their fleet passed colossal structures hanging in the void. Space stations bigger than cities, ships that looked like floating mountains, and defense cannons so massive they could tear planets apart. The Odyssey was nothing more than an insect in the middle of titans. The crew whispered among themselves, their voices filled with awe and fear. Some wondered if Earth had any chance at all. Others wondered if surrender might at least save lives. But Elena's voice always cut through their doubts. "We will not kneel," she repeated like a blade cutting through darkness. Days later, they arrived at the Empire's heart. It was a system unlike anything humans had ever seen. A star burned in the center, surrounded by a ring of artificial structures that glittered like jewels. Planets had been reshaped, their surfaces covered in towering spires, glowing domes, and vast fields of light. Alien ships moved in endless streams, like blood in the veins of a living machine. The Odyssey was pulled toward one of the great planets, where a massive city spread across the surface. At its center rose the Imperial Citadel, a black tower that pierced the clouds and shone with cruel power. The humans knew they were about to stand before rulers who had crushed countless species. As the ship descended into the docking bay, soldiers waited. They were tall, armored, and inhuman, their faces hidden by helmets shaped like beasts. Their weapons glowed with energy that hummed in the air. The crew swallowed their fear and followed Elena down the ramp. The aliens did not speak. They marched the humans through halls of metal and stone, where alien banners hung from the walls. Strange creatures watched them from balconies, some with scales, some with wings, some with eyes that glowed in the dark. Each one looked at the humans as if they were fragile animals, already broken. At last, the soldiers pushed the humans into the council chamber. It was vast, filled with thousands of alien rulers, each seated in a circle of power. Some floated in machines, others towered over the humans on long limbs, and still others shimmered with light. In the center stood the High Consul, draped in silver armor, his eyes burning like cold fire. The chamber grew silent as he raised his hand. "Behold," he thundered, the species called humans. They have trespassed into our domain. They have been given a choice. Kneel, or be destroyed. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder rolling across a storm. The aliens around him laughed, their voices hissing and booming, each one convinced that the humans would fall to their knees. But Captain Elena stepped forward. Her voice was steady, sharp as steel. We came here by mistake. We did not seek war. But if you demand Earth surrender, then listen well. We do not bow. Not today. Not ever. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some aliens hissed in anger, others laughed even louder, but a few fell silent, watching her closely. Never before had a species dared speak so boldly in their first contact. The High Consul's eyes narrowed. You speak with pride, human. But your kind is small. You cannot fight the Empire. Do you not see the power that surrounds you? Elena met his gaze without fear. I see it. And I tell you this, power does not frighten us. We may be small, but we are not weak. Threaten us, and we will resist. Try to break us, and we will fight. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some rulers shouted for immediate conquest, demanding that Earth be wiped from the stars. Others muttered in low voices, uneasy at the fire in the humans' words. The High Consul raised his hand again, and the hall fell silent. His voice rumbled like a mountain about to collapse. Very well. If you will not kneel, then you will be crushed. Your world will serve as a warning to all others who dare defy the Empire. He turned to the council. Prepare the invasion. The chamber shook with the sound of alien voices cheering for war. Soldiers seized the humans, dragging them back toward their ship. But even as they were forced away, Elena's words had already spread. Whispers traveled through the council halls. Some alien races, long under the Empire's rule, whispered of the humans' courage. They remembered their own lost defiance, long buried beneath fear. On the Odyssey, the crew sat in silence as they were escorted back. They had seen the heart of the Empire, heard its threats, and returned alive. But their captain's voice broke the silence. They want us to fear them. They want us to kneel. But fear is not who we are. We will return to Earth. We will warn them. And when the Empire comes, we will be ready. Her crew nodded, their eyes burning with the same fire. They were no longer explorers. They were messengers of war. As the Odyssey prepared for its journey home, hidden eyes watched from the shadows. Not every alien in the chamber had agreed with the consul. Some saw in the humans something dangerous, something that could shake the balance of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had found not prey, but rivals. And somewhere deep in space, fleets were already moving. The invasion of Earth had begun. The news of humanity's defiance spread like wildfire across the stars. In the council chambers of the Empire, the echoes of Captain Elena's words still lingered. We do not bow. Not today. Not ever. To some, her words were foolish, laughable arrogance from a weak species. To others, they were dangerous. Dangerous because they stirred memories long buried. The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years, ruled by fear and power. Every species that had resisted had been crushed and forced into silence. Rebellion was a word that no one dared speak. Yet now, a tiny world at the edge of the galaxy had spoken it aloud without hesitation. In the High Council chamber, voices clashed like thunder. Thousands of rulers and envoys shouted, each demanding action. The High Consul sat upon his throne of silver and black, his glowing eyes watching the storm with calm cruelty. One alien envoy, a serpent-like being with scales that shimmered, hissed loudly, "These humans insult us. They mock the Empire by refusing to kneel. They must be destroyed at once." A hulking beast with skin of stone growled, "Crush their world, burn their cities, leave nothing but ash. Let all who watch remember what happens to those who dare defy us." But not all voices agreed. A smaller envoy, thin and insect-like, raised trembling hands. "High Consul, perhaps destruction is not wise. These humans, they have courage. Defiance spreads quickly. If we make them martyrs, others may follow their example. The chamber erupted again, some mocking, others agreeing. The High Consul finally rose, his armor gleaming under the chamber's light. His voice rolled through the hall, silencing all others. You fear their words. I do not. They are nothing. Their ships are fragile, their weapons weak, their numbers few. A single fleet will crush them. He turned slowly, letting his gaze fall on each council member. But you are correct in one thing. Defiance spreads. That is why their destruction must be absolute. We will not simply defeat them, we will break them. Their world will not only burn, it will serve as an example carved into the stars. The chamber roared in approval, but hidden among the shouts were whispers. Some envoys leaned close to one another, speaking in hushed tones. Others avoided the High Consul's gaze, their minds troubled. For centuries, the Empire had crushed every challenger. Yet something about the humans unsettled them. They were weak, yes, but their spirit was fierce. They did not beg, did not plead, did not fall silent. Even in chains, their voices burned like fire. While the council debated, news of the humans spread beyond the chamber walls. Across the galaxy, in hidden corners of occupied worlds, whispers of Earth began to rise. In the dark alleys of slave cities, rebels spoke the humans' words, "We do not bow." In the minds of conquered planets, broken workers repeated the message in secret, their hearts beating faster with each whisper. For the first time in centuries, hope stirred in places where hope had long died. Meanwhile, on the Odyssey, Captain Elena and her crew made their way back to Earth under heavy escort. They carried the consul's threat like a shadow on their shoulders. The Empire had promised war, and now Earth had little time to prepare. But even as fear filled the ship, Elena's eyes burned with determination. They think we are weak, she told her crew. They think we will break. But they do not understand humanity. They do not understand what we become when we are pushed against the wall. Her words lit a fire in her crew, though doubt still lingered. Could Earth truly stand against such power? The answer lay not only in Earth's hands but in the galaxy itself. Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on. One elder, ancient and cloaked in robes, raised his voice above the noise. High Consul, you underestimate them. I have studied many species, and I know the signs. These humans, they are dangerous. Not because of their ships, but because of their spirit. You crush them, and others will rise. You fight them, and they will not stop. They are the kind who would rather die than kneel. The High Consul's eyes glowed brighter, his voice sharp. Then they will die, and their ashes will scatter into the void. His words ended the debate. The council voted, and the decision was final. The Empire would launch an invasion of Earth. Fleet after fleet would gather, a storm of fire and steel that would descend upon the blue planet without mercy. But even as the vote was cast, the chamber did not rest easy. Unease lingered in the air. Too many eyes had seen the fire in the humans. Too many ears had heard their defiance. In the shadows of the chamber, an envoy from a lesser world watched silently. His people had suffered under the Empire's rule for centuries. As he listened, he felt something stir in his chest, something he had not felt since he was young. Hope. When he returned to his people, he whispered the words that now echoed across the galaxy. The humans do not bow. Across the stars, small sparks of rebellion began to flicker. They were faint, weak, easy to crush, but they were spreading. The humans had lit a fire, and even the vast power of the Empire could not smother it quickly. On Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered in secret rooms, listening to Elena's transmission. Her words replayed again and again, they demand our surrender. But I tell you this, we will never bow. Fear filled the room, but so did resolve. For the first time in human history, nations that had once stood apart began to speak as one. They saw the storm coming, and they knew only unity could save them. The Council had chosen war, but in their arrogance, they had awoken something they did not expect. Humanity was not trembling. Humanity was preparing. And in the dark halls of the Empire, the High Consul smiled coldly. He believed the humans were nothing more than insects to crush. Yet deep in the galaxy's heart, a whisper rose louder and louder. A whisper that carried both promise and threat. We do not bow. And soon, the Empire would discover what those words truly meant. The news of the Empire's threat spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in history, every nation felt the same fear. Yet alongside fear came something far stronger: unity. Humanity had fought itself for centuries, divided by borders and beliefs. But now the enemy was not another country. It was an empire of worlds, a power so vast it could crush them in a single strike. The leaders of Earth gathered in secret chambers deep beneath mountains and oceans. Around long tables, generals, scientists, and presidents spoke with urgency. The message from Captain Elena Cross echoed through the room again. They demand our surrender. But I tell you this, we will never bow. Her words burned in their hearts. Some leaders whispered that surrender might save billions of lives. But most knew the truth. The Empire would never stop at surrender. They would take Earth's people, strip the planet of its resources, and leave humanity as nothing more than slaves. If humanity wanted freedom, they had only one choice. They had to fight. And so began Project Aegis, the greatest secret in human history. 4 years, hidden laboratories had been working on weapons never revealed to the public. Projects dismissed as science fiction were closer to reality than anyone imagined. Now, with war coming, humanity unlocked those secrets. Deep in the deserts of Nevada, a hangar opened to reveal warships hidden beneath the sand. They were small compared to the Empire's giants, but they carried technology born from desperate innovation. Railguns that fired metal slugs at near-light speed. Swarms of autonomous drones that moved like a single mind. Shields powered by energy fields designed to bend space itself. In the frozen mountains of Siberia, scientists unveiled the Chimera cannons, massive weapons capable of tearing holes through even the thickest armor. Powered by unstable reactors, they were dangerous to use, but humanity no longer cared about safety. Survival was all that mattered. In the deep oceans, submarines surfaced carrying launch platforms for weapons no one had dared admit existed. Weapons that could silence entire fleets in an instant. Across the globe, humanity awakened its hidden strength. Soldiers trained day and night. Factories shifted to building war machines. Children whispered prayers, while parents looked to the sky, knowing the storm was coming. Yet even as Earth prepared, many still doubted. Could humanity's secret projects truly stand against a galactic empire that had ruled for millennia? The answer came from Elena's crew aboard the Odyssey. As they returned to Earth, they carried not only the Empire's threats but also knowledge of its weaknesses. They are powerful, Elena told Earth's leaders, but they are not invincible. They expect fear. They expect surrender. They do not expect humans to fight with every breath. She described the Empire's ships, massive but slow to adapt. Their strength came from overwhelming numbers and intimidation. But against creativity, against desperation, against the human spirit, they could be hurt. And if they could be hurt, they could be defeated. Inspired by her words, Earth made its choice. There would be no surrender. The world united under a single banner, not of conquest, but of survival. For the first time, humanity truly stood as one species. The first tests of the secret weapons began. In a desert testing ground, a railgun fired. The slug cut through reinforced alloys at speeds no one believed possible. In orbit, drones danced in formation, shifting and attacking with a speed that no alien commander could predict. In the deep laboratories beneath Geneva, scientists whispered of Project Leviathan, a weapon so dangerous that even they were afraid to use it. But they knew the day would come when it must be unleashed. As Earth prepared, the Empire watched. Their fleets moved closer, massive armadas gathering at the edge of human space. The High Consul sneered at the reports. They build their toys, he said coldly. But toys do not stop gods. Yet not all in the Empire agreed. Some commanders remembered their first clash with humans. A handful of primitive ships had held their own far longer than expected. What would happen when those humans fought with everything they had? Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Species under the Empire's boot listened with hope. The humans are building weapons, they whispered. The humans are preparing to fight. In dark corners, rebels sharpened their blades, their courage returning. In the skies above Earth, the first human fleets gathered. Dozens of ships, tiny compared to the Empire's giants, but armed with weapons that had never been tested in true battle. Pilots kissed their families goodbye, knowing they might never return. Soldiers boarded warships, their faces pale but their eyes burning. And in the command center of the United Earth Defense, Captain Elena stood at the front of the room. Her voice was steady, her gaze unbroken. They think we will kneel. They think we are weak. But they do not understand. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity fights. And we will show the galaxy what it means to be human. Cheers shook the chamber. The first battle was coming. Humanity had revealed its secret weapons. But would they be enough? At the edge of the solar system, sensors detected movement. Alien fleets. Hundreds of ships, each one a fortress of death, moving like a tide of fire toward Earth. The invasion had begun. And soon, the galaxy would discover whether humanity's secret weapons were salvation, or humanity's last mistake. The blackness of space near the edge of the solar system trembled with light. The alien fleet had arrived. Hundreds of colossal warships, each glowing with cruel energy, advanced like a wall of steel and fire. Their formation was perfect, their weapons primed. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had crushed every species that stood against it. Now it was Earth's turn. In orbit around Neptune, the first human defense fleet waited. Dozens of human ships hovered silently, their dark hulls reflecting the faint sunlight. They were tiny compared to the Empire's giants, fragile in appearance, but each carried the secret weapons born from Earth's desperation. Inside the command ship Resolute, Captain Elena Cross stood on the bridge, her crew tense and ready. She watched the Empire's fleet drawing closer, her jaw set like iron. She knew this moment would decide the future of humanity. If Earth broke here, the Empire would enslave them forever. If Earth stood, the galaxy itself might change. The alien fleet hailed them, the same cold voice echoing through the comms. Humans of Earth, you are surrounded. Kneel, and your species will be spared. Resist, and your world will burn. Elena's reply came sharp and clear. This is Captain Cross. We do not bow. If you want Earth, you will bleed for it. Silence followed. Then the alien commander laughed, a deep sound filled with arrogance. Then you will die screaming. The fleet advanced. The first battle between humanity and the Empire had begun. Alien weapons lit the void, beams of energy slicing across the darkness. The human fleet broke formation, moving with speed that surprised the enemy. Swarms of human drones burst forward, dozens of them weaving like insects, darting through enemy fire. They struck first, their small bodies exploding against enemy shields, creating holes in the energy fields. From behind, human railguns fired. Slugs of metal shot across space at near-light speed, tearing through the gaps in the alien defenses. One of the Empire's warships shuddered, flames bursting from its side. On the human bridge, cheers erupted. They had drawn blood. The Empire, however, was not shaken. Hundreds more ships surged forward, unleashing storms of plasma and energy blasts. A human frigate vanished in a burst of fire, its crew lost in seconds. Another ship's hull cracked, spilling flames into the void. The battle was brutal. Humans fought with every weapon they had, using tactics born not from tradition but from desperation. They set traps with hidden mines, lured enemy ships into asteroid fields, and sacrificed drones to blind the enemy's sensors. Slowly, impossibly, the alien advance slowed. On the bridge of the Resolute, Elena gave sharp commands. Redirect power to forward shields. Fire the Chimera cannon. Deep within the ship, a massive weapon hummed to life. The Chimera cannon fired, a beam of unstable energy ripping through the void. It struck an alien cruiser head-on, tearing it in half. The explosion lit space like a second sun. For the first time, the Empire's perfect formation broke. Their ships shifted, cautious now. They had expected an easy victory, but humanity was fighting like no prey they had ever seen. In the council chambers far across the galaxy, alien rulers watched the battle on live feeds. They leaned forward in disbelief. The humans, they are holding the line, one whispered. Another muttered, impossible. No one resists the Empire this long. Across conquered worlds, slaves and rebels whispered the news. The humans fight back. Their hearts, long broken, began to beat with hope. But in the depths of the Empire's flagship, the alien commander's eyes burned with fury. Increase the assault, he roared. Destroy them all. The alien fleet unleashed a storm. Waves of fire tore through the human defenses. One by one, human ships fell, their wreckage burning across the dark. On the Resolute, alarms blared as energy blasts shook the hull. Shields failing, a crewman shouted. Elena gritted her teeth. Hold the line. The battle raged for hours, each side striking, each side bleeding. Humanity fought with reckless courage, turning every weakness into strength. But the Empire's numbers were overwhelming. More and more alien ships poured into the system. The human fleet was dwindling. Yet even in the face of death, they refused to break. At last, with Earth still far behind them, Elena gave the order for the final strike. All remaining ships, converge. Target their flagship. Human ships gathered, battered and burning, but united. Railguns fired, drones swarmed, and the Chimera cannons roared. The void shook with fire as they hurled everything at the Empire's command ship. For a moment, the impossible happened. The alien flagship trembled, shields breaking under the combined assault. Flames burst across its hull. Inside the ship, the alien commander staggered, his arrogance replaced with shock. Humans, he hissed. This is not possible. But even as the flagship burned, reinforcements arrived. A second wave of alien fleets emerged from hyperspace, endless in number. The humans had struck hard, but the tide was turning once more. On the Resolute, smoke filled the bridge. Crew members struggled to keep the systems alive. Elena's voice was calm, steady, unbroken. We have shown them, she said quietly. We have shown the galaxy we will not bow. Outside, the stars burned with fire. Human ships fell one after another, but each one took enemies with it. Each sacrifice carved fear into the heart of the Empire. Then, in the chaos of battle, sensors picked up something new. A ripple in space. Something massive was approaching, something not human, not part of the Empire's fleet. The crew stared at the screens in shock. Captain, the sensor officer whispered. Something is coming. Elena's eyes narrowed. Friend or foe? No one answered. The battle raged on, but now all eyes turned to the growing shadow in the void. Whoever it was, whatever it was, the fate of the battle, and perhaps the galaxy, was about to change. The first battle had ended in fire and blood. The human fleet was shattered, their ships drifting in pieces across the edge of the solar system. Yet in their destruction, they had achieved the unthinkable. They had scarred the Empire's pride. The mighty flagship of the invaders, though not destroyed, bore the wounds of human defiance. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. The humans can fight. But whispers alone would not save Earth. The Empire had suffered a humiliation it could not ignore, and when the Empire was humiliated, it always struck back with fury. In the Imperial Palace, the High Consul watched the battle recordings in silence. His cold eyes lingered on Captain Elena's defiant words, her ship burning yet unbroken. His clawed hands tightened around the throne. She must die, he growled. Around him, the council roared for revenge. Crush their world. Burn their cities. Make their sun itself tremble. The High Consul raised his hand for silence. The humans will learn the price of defiance. Gather the fleets. No more testing. No more games. We will drown their planet in fire. The order spread across the galaxy. Entire armadas shifted course toward Earth. It was no longer a skirmish. It was war. Back on Earth, survivors of the first battle returned. Families wept for lost sons and daughters, but their grief did not break them. Instead, it hardened them. Humanity had seen the Empire's power, but they had also seen the truth. The Empire could bleed. Captain Elena stood before Earth's leaders, her uniform scorched, her eyes weary but burning with fire. They will come again, she said. Stronger. Angrier. They will not stop until Earth is ash. We cannot wait for them. We must prepare, and we must strike first when the chance comes. Her words carried across the halls of power. Scientists pushed their projects faster. Factories thundered day and night. New fleets rose from hidden shipyards, their hulls painted black to blend with the void. Weapons more terrible than before were tested, some so dangerous even the generals feared them. But fear no longer ruled humanity. The shadow of the Empire did. And against that shadow, they would unleash everything. Yet time was short. Only weeks after the first battle, alarms rang across Earth's defense network. The Empire had returned. Thousands of ships now advanced, blotting out the stars with their numbers. Their formation stretched like an iron wall across the void, endless and merciless. Humanity had no choice but to stand and fight once again. The second battle began with fire. Alien fleets surged into the solar system, striking at outposts on the moons and colonies scattered across the stars. Mars burned first, its defense stations shattered under waves of energy fire. Outposts on Europa and Titan followed, crushed before they could even signal for help. Millions died in the first hours, their screams lost in the cold vacuum of space. On Earth, chaos reigned. Families fled into underground shelters. Cities went dark as the military seized power grids for defense. Across the skies, humanity's new fleets launched, their engines blazing as they rose to meet the storm. Above the world, the largest battle in human history unfolded. Alien warships, towering and countless, unleashed their fury. Human fleets struck back, firing railguns, unleashing drones, and activating the Chimera cannons. Explosions lit the sky like burning suns. Entire ships vanished in seconds. The humans fought harder than ever before. For every ship destroyed, another rose to take its place. They used the planet itself as a shield, hiding in the shadow of the moon, launching ambushes from asteroid belts, striking with tactics the Empire had never seen. Yet the Empire adapted quickly. Their commanders, enraged but cunning, began countering human tricks. Drones were intercepted. Railguns met with stronger shields. The tide began to turn. One by one, human ships fell, their wreckage raining down into Earth's atmosphere. Whole cities watched as burning fragments streaked across the skies. Still, humanity did not break. In the middle of the chaos, Elena's voice cut through the static of the comms. Hold the line. Do not let them break through. Her ship, the Resolute, fought like a beast surrounded by wolves, tearing through enemy cruisers even as its own hull cracked. But the Empire's numbers were overwhelming. The High Consul had sent not one fleet, but many. Hundreds of thousands of alien ships poured into the system. It was more than Earth had ever dreamed possible. And with their arrival came new horrors. From the depths of the Empire's armada, massive siege ships emerged, their cannons glowing with energy that could shatter continents. They aimed not at the fleets but at Earth itself. In underground bunkers, alarms screamed. Leaders stared at the screens in horror as the siege cannons powered up. They mean to destroy the planet, one whispered. Elena's blood ran cold as the warning reached her. The Empire was done with threats. This was annihilation. The first cannon fired. A beam of pure destruction tore through space, striking Earth's atmosphere. The skies above Asia lit up with fire as cities shook, their buildings crumbling. Millions more lives vanished in seconds. Humanity screamed, but its scream was drowned out by rage. "Target those cannons," Elena ordered. Human fleets, broken and burning, hurled themselves at the siege ships. Railguns cracked. Drones exploded in desperate waves. One cannon was destroyed, but two more powered up. Earth trembled again as another continent burned. In the chaos, whispers spread among the human command. "Project Leviathan," one general said. "It's not ready," another argued. "If we use it, we may destroy ourselves." But the choice was gone. The Empire was breaking the planet apart. Humanity needed a miracle. Or a monster. Deep beneath the oceans, in a base hidden from the stars, scientists stood before the sealed chamber of Project Leviathan. A weapon so powerful they had sworn never to release it. But now, with Earth crumbling, they had no choice. The final command was given. Locks broke. Alarms wailed. And in the darkness of the ocean, something ancient and terrible stirred. In orbit, Elena's fleet fought with dying strength. The alien siege cannons charged once more, ready to tear Earth apart. But before they fired, a massive energy surge shook the system. Something had awakened below. The Empire's ships paused, their sensors confused, their commanders wary. Elena's eyes widened as she saw the readings on her screen. Something was rising from Earth's oceans, something that dwarfed even the largest human ships. "Dear God," she whispered, "they've unleashed it." The oceans of Earth trembled as Project Leviathan stirred, but while humanity's secret weapon rose, far away in the hidden corners of the galaxy, other eyes were watching. The galaxy had lived under the Empire's iron grip for centuries. World after world had fallen, their peoples enslaved, their histories erased. Fear was the only law. Yet the Battle of Earth had shaken that fear. For the first time in living memory, a species had stood against the Empire and struck them down. Across hidden colonies and broken ruins, whispers turned into hope. In the caves of a desert world, a band of insect-like rebels huddled around a stolen transmission. The screen flickered, showing human ships ramming into alien cruisers, explosions lighting the void. One rebel hissed, his voice sharp. "They fight, and they do not kneel." Another, scarred and weary, spoke slowly. "If they can bleed the Empire, perhaps we all can." On a shattered moon at the edge of the galaxy, the remnants of another species watched the same recordings. Once proud, they had been broken, their fleets shattered, their people scattered as slaves. But when they saw human ships strike down the Empire's war machines, something stirred inside them that had long been buried, anger and the faint spark of courage. Deep in the shadows, messages began to move. Secret channels lit up. Old codes were whispered again. A network of resistance, thought long dead, began to stir back to life. The humans were not alone. They just did not know it yet. Back on Earth, Captain Elena and the surviving fleets struggled to hold the skies. Leviathan was rising, but its power was still unknown. Every moment was survival. In her command room, Elena leaned over the star maps, her eyes hard. "The Empire has brought half its strength against us," she said to her officers. "If we fight alone, we will fall. But maybe we don't have to fight alone." Her words hung heavy. "You mean allies?" one officer asked, doubtful. "The galaxy fears the Empire too much." Elena shook her head. "Not all of them. Somewhere out there, others must be watching. Others who want freedom as badly as we do. We must reach them before it's too late." Even as she spoke, those others were already making their choice. In hidden spaceports, rebel leaders debated. Many feared joining humans. If they were crushed, the Empire would hunt them down. But others argued that humanity had already done the impossible. They had drawn blood from the Empire. "If Earth falls," one rebel said, "the galaxy will remain in chains forever. But if Earth stands, then the chains may break." Slowly, carefully, decisions were made. Small fleets that had been hiding for decades powered up their engines. Messages of alliance were sent, coded and hidden from the Empire's spies. The galaxy was shifting. Humanity's defiance had lit a fire, and now the fire spread. But the Empire was not blind. Their intelligence networks caught whispers of movements in the dark. The High Consul snarled when he heard reports of unrest. "So the vermin think they can rise with the humans," he spat. "Burn them. Burn them all. I want their ashes carried on the winds of their worlds." Armies of the Empire moved quickly, striking down suspected rebels, crushing colonies before they could rise. The shadows of the galaxy shook with fear. Yet despite the terror, some chose to fight anyway. They were done living on their knees. Meanwhile, in the hidden mountains of Earth, a secret human facility received an unexpected signal. The technicians stared in shock as alien symbols flashed across their screens. "Captain," they called urgently. "You need to see this." Elena hurried in, her eyes narrowing. The signal was weak, patched together through layers of codes. But its meaning was clear. It was a message, not from the Empire, but from someone else. "Humans," the voice said, rough and distorted. "We have seen you fight. We have seen you bleed the Empire. If you wish to live, if you wish to win, meet us. There is a place where the Empire cannot see. Come, and we will talk." The message cut off. The room fell into silence. "It could be a trap," one officer said. "It could be the Empire luring us in." Elena stared at the screen. Her heart told her otherwise. "No," she whispered. "This is real. Others are reaching out." She looked at her crew. "We cannot win this war alone. Set a course. We will answer their call." In the shadows of the galaxy, allies were gathering. Some out of hope, some out of desperation, some out of hatred for the Empire. And as the human ship broke from Earth to follow the signal, across the void, unseen eyes followed them. Not all of them were friendly. Among the rebels, there were whispers of betrayal. Among the hidden fleets, there were those who would sell out humanity for safety. Allies in the shadows could be friends, or daggers waiting in the dark. Yet humanity had no choice. They needed help, no matter the risk. And so the journey began, deeper into the galaxy, toward those who had hidden too long. In the silence of space, Captain Elena stood at the viewport, watching the stars stretch ahead. "We are not alone anymore," she said softly. But her words were only half true. They were not alone, but neither were they safe. For even as Earth reached for allies, the Empire's wrath was growing. And far across the stars, in the ruins of a forgotten world, a different power stirred. One not loyal to humanity, nor to the Empire, but to something older, darker, and far more dangerous. And it had just awakened. The war for Earth had become the war for the galaxy. Humanity had reached into the shadows, and the shadows had answered. Across distant worlds, secret fleets once hidden from the Empire now revealed themselves, small but determined. Their ships were old, scarred, and outnumbered. Yet they carried something far more powerful than weapons: hope. For the first time in centuries, hope was spreading faster than fear. Captain Elena stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her ship patched but still alive, as transmissions from across the stars filled her screens. Alien commanders, once hunted and broken, now offered their hands in alliance. Insect-like generals with chittering voices, wolf-like warriors scarred from old battles, and quiet, cunning leaders of shattered empires, all sent the same message: they would fight. Humanity had lit a spark, and that spark was now fire. But fire alone could not defeat the storm. The Empire still held overwhelming numbers, and its siege fleets circled Earth like vultures. If humanity and its new allies were to survive, they needed more than courage. They needed a plan to turn the tide. In the underground bunkers of Earth, leaders gathered in secret councils. Maps of the galaxy were spread across tables, marked with the Empire's strongholds and patrol lines. "We cannot meet them head-on," one general said grimly. "Their fleets will crush us." Elena leaned forward, her voice steady. "Then we don't meet them head-on. We bleed them from the shadows. We strike where they are weak. We show the galaxy the Empire can fall. The plan was dangerous, reckless even, but it was the only chance. Humanity and its allies would launch coordinated strikes across the Empire's borders, cutting supply lines, destroying communication hubs, freeing slave worlds. They would force the Empire to fight everywhere at once, stretching its power thin. And at the heart of it all, Project Leviathan, still hidden deep beneath the oceans, would wait for the right moment to unleash its true power. The first missions began quickly. Human ships, armed with railguns and drones, slipped into the void alongside alien allies. They struck at convoys, ambushed patrols, and sabotaged stations. Worlds long forgotten by the galaxy saw alien banners fall and human flags rise. Slaves who had given up hope looked to the skies and saw freedom burning bright. Across the galaxy, fear of the Empire began to waver. The humans had not only survived, they were winning. The High Consul raged in his palace as reports poured in. His fleets were bleeding, his stations burning. "Crush them," he roared. "I want every human and every traitor dragged into the dirt." But the galaxy was shifting faster than even he could stop. Every strike by humanity and its allies sent a message: the Empire was not invincible. Still, victory did not come without cost. Human fleets lost ships in every battle, their crews fighting to the last breath. Entire rebel cells were wiped out before they could rise. Elena watched names of the dead scroll across her screens after each mission, her heart heavy but unbroken. "Every life we lose," she whispered, "brings us closer to freedom." The turning point came when a coalition of humans and rebels struck at the Imperial shipyards orbiting the world of Draxus. For centuries, Draxus had built the Empire's war machines, churning out fleets that crushed worlds. No one had ever dared to touch it. But Elena and her allies dared. They struck in the dead of space, slipping past defenses with cloaked ships. Drones swarmed the yards, railguns tore through docked cruisers, and Leviathan's distant energy pulse ripped apart the strongest shields. The yards burned, and with them the heart of the Empire's fleet production. Across the galaxy, people cheered. The Empire was wounded as it had never been before. Yet victory came at a terrible price. Half the rebel fleet was destroyed in the assault, their sacrifices buying time for the final explosions. Elena's ship barely escaped, its engines trailing fire. As she stood on the bridge, bruised and bloodied, she looked at the burning world of Draxus and whispered, "The tide is turning." But in the heart of the Empire, the High Consul was preparing his answer. He could no longer allow this rebellion to spread. If Earth was the spark, then Earth must be destroyed once and for all. He summoned his warlords and revealed a weapon hidden even from his own council. A weapon older than humanity, forged from the ashes of conquered worlds. As his generals bowed before him, the High Consul smiled with cold satisfaction. "Let them think the tide is turning," he hissed. "Let them gather their strength. Soon they will face the true power of the Empire. And when they do, their galaxy will drown in silence." Far away, on Earth's oceans, Leviathan stirred again, sensing a storm greater than before. The battle for survival was shifting. Humanity had turned the tide, but the flood was only beginning. The galaxy held its breath as the Empire unleashed its ultimate weapon. It was not a fleet, not an army, but something far worse. The High Consul called it the Oblivion Engine, a colossal war machine forged from the cores of dead stars and the remains of enslaved worlds. It could tear apart planets, drain suns, and silence entire systems with a single strike. For centuries, it had been hidden deep within the void, its existence a secret, its power waiting for the moment of absolute control. Now, that moment had come. Across the galaxy, panic spread as news of the weapon reached every world. Entire civilizations cried out in fear. If Earth was struck, not only would humanity die, but the rebellion itself would be shattered forever. In the war room beneath Earth's mountains, Captain Elena and her commanders stared at the grim reports. The hologram of the Oblivion Engine filled the chamber, its black surface pulsing with energy, its weapons glowing like captured suns. No one spoke for a long time. At last, Elena's voice cut through the silence, firm but heavy. This is it. The final battle. If we fall, the galaxy falls with us. If we stand, then maybe, just maybe, we can be free. Her words spread beyond that room. Across the stars, every ally received the same message. The time has come. Humanity will not kneel. Will you stand with us? And they did. From hidden colonies and shattered moons, fleets rose. Old ships patched with scavenged parts, rebels who had lost everything, warriors who had nothing left but rage, they all answered the call. The galaxy was no longer silent. For the first time in centuries, it roared with defiance. The Empire's fleets gathered, vast and endless, a tide of firepower stretching from star to star. At their center, the Oblivion engine loomed like a dark god, its presence alone enough to crush hope. Against it, humanity and their allies formed a fragile line, their numbers small, their weapons weak compared to the storm before them. Yet in every heart burned the same fire that had carried them this far. The will to fight, even when the fight seemed lost. The battle began at the edge of the Sol system. The void lit with explosions as fleets clashed, human railguns tearing through cruisers, rebel fighters swarming like hornets, and alien warships striking with weapons unseen for centuries. The Empire's response was brutal. World killer beams sliced through ships, burning them to dust. Entire wings of fighters vanished in blinding light. But humanity did not break. Elena stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her hands gripping the console as orders flew. Target their command ships. Protect the allies. Push them back. Her voice was steel, and her crew answered with fire. Yet even as victories were won, the Oblivion engine stirred. Its core glowed, brighter and brighter, until the space around it seemed to scream. Then, with a single strike, it unleashed its fury. A human colony ship, packed with civilians fleeing Earth, was obliterated in an instant. Nothing remained, not even dust. The galaxy fell into silence. Fear clawed at the hearts of every fighter. If the weapon fired again, entire worlds would vanish. Elena's face hardened. "Leviathan," she whispered. "It's time." Deep in Earth's oceans, Project Leviathan awoke fully at last. Rising from the depths, it broke the waves, its massive form shaking the seas. It was part ship, part living machine, its skin glowing with energy stolen from the stars themselves. It rose into the sky, engines blazing, and for the first time revealed itself to the galaxy. Hope returned with its shadow. Leviathan joined the battle, cutting through enemy fleets with weapons beyond anything the Empire had seen. Its cannons tore apart dreadnoughts, its shields deflected superheated beams, and its presence rallied the broken lines. The galaxy now saw not just humans, but something greater. Defiance turned into strength. The Empire's fleets began to falter, but the Oblivion engine remained. It turned its wrath upon Leviathan, beams of annihilation clashing with shields of starlight. Space itself burned as the two titans fought, every strike shaking entire systems. Elena watched from the Resolute, her crew silent in awe and terror. She knew this battle would decide everything. Humanity had fought too long, bled too much, to let it end in silence. She opened a channel to every allied ship, her voice carrying across the war-torn stars. "This is our stand. No retreat. No surrender. For every world that has suffered. For every voice silenced by the Empire. For freedom, fight." And they did. Broken ships rammed enemy cruisers. Dying fighters gave their last fuel to destroy capital ships. Alien warriors sang ancient war songs as they fell, their deaths buying precious moments. Humanity fought like fire itself, unyielding, burning brighter even as the darkness closed in. Still, the Oblivion engine pushed forward, its power overwhelming, its hunger endless. Leviathan was strong, but not invincible. Warnings lit across its systems as its shields faltered. The High Consul watched with cruel delight, certain victory was near. But Helena was not finished. She had seen the weakness in the beast. The Oblivion engine's power was vast, but it relied on a single core, a heart forged from the remains of a stolen star. If that heart was broken, the weapon would fall. The question was how to reach it before Leviathan itself was destroyed. She looked at her crew, her allies, her people. The final choice was clear. Humanity would have to strike at the very heart of the Empire's greatest weapon, even if it cost everything. Elena's voice cut through the chaos, calm and steady. Prepare for the final strike. We end this, or we die trying. The void shook as the final battle raged on, stars flickering like candles in the storm. Humanity and its allies had thrown everything into the fight, yet the Oblivion engine still loomed, its dark heart pulsing with stolen power, its weapon tearing fleets apart. Leviathan clashed with it blow for blow, its shields shattering and repairing, its cannons firing until their barrels burned red, but the monster did not fall. Captain Elena stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her face pale but her eyes burning with fire. Around her, her crew waited for her command, knowing that one decision would end the war, or end them all. The plan was desperate, a choice no one else dared to make. Leviathan had enough power left for one last strike, but it needed a clear shot at the engine's core. That meant someone had to draw the beast's fire, to open its heart for attack. Elena's voice spread through every allied ship, calm but heavy with finality. We have come too far to kneel. We have bled too much to stop. The galaxy is watching. Today, humanity will not bow, we will stand, and we will fight. This is the moment we prove that freedom is worth everything. Across the stars, voices answered. Insectoid commanders clicked and roared their agreement. Wolf-like warriors howled their battle cries. Broken fleets surged forward with new fury. Every ally who had once hidden now fought with all they had, knowing this was the last chance. The Oblivion engine turned its fury on them, its beams tearing ships apart, but they did not retreat. They gave their lives to hold the line, to buy one chance for Leviathan to strike. Elena ordered the Resolute forward, her ship weaving through fire, drawing the monster's gaze. The Oblivion engine turned toward them, energy building in its core, a storm of annihilation ready to fire. Now! Elena shouted. At that moment, Leviathan unleashed everything. Its core blazed like a newborn star, and with a roar that echoed across the galaxy, it fired a beam of pure energy into the heart of the Oblivion engine. For a moment, the void was silent. Then the darkness screamed. The engine's core cracked, light spilling out in wild bursts, its weapons stuttering as if choking on its own power. The galaxy seemed to tremble as the machine began to collapse in on itself, its stolen star heart breaking apart. But victory came with a price. Leviathan, drained and broken, could not survive the final strike. Its hull split, its engines died, and the great beast drifted silently in the void. Humanity's greatest weapon had given its life to end the Empire's terror. On the Resolute, Elena watched the collapse, tears burning her eyes, her voice steady even as her heart broke. "You did it," she whispered. "You gave us the future." Across the galaxy, every world felt the shock. The Empire's fleets faltered, their invincible weapon destroyed, their command in chaos. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw the Empire bleed, and saw that it could be beaten. On distant slave worlds, chains were broken. On hidden colonies, people lifted their eyes to the stars with hope instead of fear. The rebellion was no longer a dream. It was real. The High Consul, watching from his palace, raged as the reports poured in. His perfect order was shattering, his fleets retreating, his great weapon gone. "This is not the end," he shouted, his voice echoing in empty halls. But in his heart, even he knew, the age of the Empire was over. The spark had become fire, and that fire would burn his throne to ash. In the ruins of the battle, Elena sent one final message, her words carried to every world, every people who had suffered under the Empire's chains. "We are not the strongest. We are not the oldest. We are only human. But we stood when we were told to kneel. We fought when we were told to surrender. And now, together we have won. Remember this day. Not as the day humanity saved itself, but as the day the galaxy chose freedom. Never forget, the Empire can be broken." Her words spread like light, burning into the hearts of billions. Across the stars, the oppressed rose, and the galaxy itself began to change. It would not happen overnight, and the war was not truly finished, but the tide had turned forever. Humanity had not only survived, they had changed destiny. Elena stood at the viewport of the Resolute, staring at the wreckage of Leviathan drifting in the silent dark. Around it, Allied ships lit their lights in honor, thousands of beacons shining together like a constellation of hope. The captain bowed her head, her voice quiet but unshaken. We defied them. And that defiance changed everything. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, now belonged to those who dared to resist. And in that silence after war, one truth remained clear. This was only the beginning. Humanity's defiance had not only saved Earth. It had set the stars free.